It's been revealed that Rachel Reeves' huge £47 billion compensation bill for historical injustices, cover-ups and negligence. We're going to read into this exclusive from The Independent, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an exclusive from The Independent with the headline that has been revealed that Rachel Reeves' huge £47 billion compensation bill for historical injustices, cover-ups and negligence. The exclusive reveals that attempts by the Chancellor to get a grip on Britain's finances have been made even more difficult by an outstanding bill of £47 billion for past mistakes by the British state. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. What kind of British mistakes are we talking about recently? The infected blood scandal for one, the post office scandal, Grenfell, just a couple of examples there of victims who have been misdemeanored, and I'm sure there will be lots more that will be mentioned in the article, as well as probably some that may have been missed that you guys will mention in the comments down below. And £47 billion of this, and she's already announced obviously a massive boost to increase for public sector pay, which I think is really important. But I guess a lot of people will be saying, well, where's all this money going to come from? Well, it's got to come from somewhere, because these people are entitled to compensation, and it's not just obviously, and let's be clear about this. You know, past Labour governments have to take their ownership responsibilities for not doing enough in these as well. Let's be very clear. It's been poor, just been absolutely poor. And while the damage some of these are immeasurable and they can never be reversed, the compensation is something that will give some comfort to what some people who have suffered in life have been through. It can give some comfort to it. I know that money doesn't grow on trees, but this is something that needs to be sorted. And I think that the sooner these cover-ups and these historical justices are dealt with, the better for Britain, because its reputation has been largely hampered over the last 14 years, in particular, last couple of years even more, shall we say. But there can also open up a can of worms for other things as well, for other historical injustices as well, if we're not careful. So yeah, this is a big problem, and apparently there's no magic money tree. Remember, you know, we don't have money to obviously to get. There's no magic money tree, but we have money if we need it for Ukraine. There's no magic money tree, but we can have money for things that we need, not for what the people need. That tends to happen quite a lot, doesn't it, in governments? So let's read into this, you guys, a bit more. So, the efforts of the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, to get control of Britain's finances are being hampered by a massive £47 billion bill in outstanding compensation claims, which could have ballooned even further, The Independent can reveal. So, analysis of a report by the National Audit Office, the NAO, showed £84 billion have been pledged by the previous government, with 12 compensation schemes for injustices, cover-up and negligence. Although much of that sum has been paid out by the British estate, almost £47 billion is still owed in high-profile cases such as the infected blood and the Post Office Horizon scandal. The outstanding total, which is more than double the £22 billion black hole in the nation's finances that the Chancellor revealed to MPs in July, which saw her slash winter fuel payments, cancel reforms to social care and cut spending plans, including upgrades to the rail network. Ms. Reeves has also confirmed that she intends to roll back on her election pledge not to raise taxes. This is a lie. This is a lie from The Independent. I'm sorry, this is a flat-out lie. They never said that they were not going to raise taxes. There were only certain taxes that they were not going to raise. They never said that they would not raise taxes. This is a lie from The Independent. Yeah, show me a video where they have said that we will not be raising any taxes. They said they would not be raising taxes. Certain taxes they would not be raising, but they never said categorically that they were not going to raise taxes. This is a lie from The Independent. That is a flat out lie. But alarmingly for the government, the bill could grow even higher. Infected blood scandal victims are expected more than £2.2 billion currently in the budget compensated to them, while other demands for compensation are still yet to be decided. Compensation for around 3 million WASPy women against state pensions inequality. Women whose retirement plans were hit by changes in the pension age, worth between £1,000 to £2,950 each, has not been included in the figure. There is also pressure from a proper compensation scheme for British nuclear test veterans, with 1,500 still believed to be alive. And while several compensation schemes have now been closed, many of them are still open with no end date identified. Pressure has piled on the recent months for those payments to be made. The former Post Office Minister, Paul Scully, who oversaw compensation for postmasters, told The Independent that the gigantic bill to the taxpayer is often the consequences of groupthink and cover-ups to protect the brand. He said if the cover-up did not happen and the mistakes were dealt with earlier, the cost would have been far lower than the public purse. He added they came across many horrendous cases in the post office scandal. Nothing could properly compensate the way lives were ruined and businesses bankrupted by this scandal, and now have a duty to compensate the victims as best we can. And he said that the budget amounts were based on value for money tests by the Treasury to protect the taxpayer in the future. The new government is planning to introduce a duty of candour for public employees to try and prevent cover-ups. Follows outrage over the behaviour of the post office under former boss Paula Reynolds, which led to sub-postmasters being wrongly convicted and jailed for theft, fraud and false accounting. The NAO report found that £222 million have been paid out so far from a potential budget of £1 billion from the post office, according to analysis by the Taxpayer Alliance. The compensation bill included the infected blood scandal, where more than 30,000 people in the UK were infected with HIV and hepatitis C, which has been given contaminated blood products in the 1970s and 1980s. Successive governments ignored warnings about the blood supplies, allowing victims to be infected. Among those severely criticised by a public inquiry was the former Health Secretary Kenneth Clarke. And so far, £346 million out of the £2.2 billion budget for interim payments have been paid. But campaigners said the cost should be more. A former SNP MP, Chris Stevens, who worked closely with the victims and their families, said the actual compensation cost was always understood to be at least £10 billion. And he said the infected blood community deserves clarity on these figures. Either the £10 billion figure is accurate, or the previous government didn't account for the funds, or the £10 billion was used as political leverage to scare people as to the cost. The government needs to ensure that commitments Parliament have given that the infected blood community are met in full. However, the NAO has warned that there is a lack of coordination in how compensation schemes are decided and handling by the government, leading to mistakes. And the report noted that citizens eligible for redress will have suffered hardship and distress, and these citizens have a reasonable expectation that their claims will be fairly treated and speedily. And there is no central coordination approach for when the government sets out a new compensation scheme, resulting in relatively slow ad hoc approach. Setting up and administrating a compensation scheme is a complex task and challenging for officials who may have never done it before. This has led to mistakes in the inefficiencies in the design of schemes and delays in getting money to claimants. Yes, I think that's really important. If you're setting it up, these things do take time to set up these compensation schemes. Sometimes it's not as simple as 1, 2, 3, which some people think it is. But however, that should not excuse the long delays either. Claimants and stakeholder confidence should be further undermined where the design and operation of the scheme is not to be seen being independent for those who have caused them harm. Those with experience of schemes all agree that redress should be swift, decisions fair, proportionate and transparent, and that those harms should be at the heart of decision making. The largest amount of taxpayer has to fund is for clinical negligence schemes managed by the NHS resolution, where £26.5 billion has been paid out and a further £69.3 billion budgeted for. Other schemes have an unknown ceiling for payment, including the vaccine damage scheme for the late 1970s, with £20 million paid out so far. The payments for the Windrush scandal, which saw people entitled to live in the UK wrongly deported, have so far reached £85.9 million from a budget of amount of £215 million. Another open scheme is the Armed Forces Compensation Scheme, the AFCS, which pays out for injuries, illness and deaths caused by services on or after the 6th of April 2005. So far, £1.3 billion has been paid out from a total of £2.3 billion budgeted. Schemes fully paid up, including compensation for coal miners, £4.3 billion, foot and mouth, £1.3 billion, and the Icelandic water trialment from the 1970s Cod Wars, £43 million. So a lot of schemes here, isn't there? A Treasury source said the details of the expected cost of compensation schemes will be set out in the autumn budget as required by the usual way. Yeah, again, the Chancellor is going to be under a lot of pressure in this budget in October. The government has stated it is committed to paying comprehensive compensation to infected and affected victims of the infected blood scandal, but it admits that it does not yet know how much needs to be set aside. The Treasury has noted that the total cost of compensation schemes will ultimately depend on the number of people who have been infected or affected who come forward, but each eligible person will get the compensation they are due. John O'Connell, the Chief Executive of Taxpayer Alliance, which correlated the figures, said taxpayers will be utterly appalled by the vast bills that they have been left as a result of the catalogue of cock-ups by previous governments. When things go badly wrong, those impacted are right to expect and indeed demand compensation. What is inexcusable is that these mistakes are by no means once in a blue moon. When new governments can demonstrate that they represent a change by resolving existing schemes quickly and efficiently while ensuring these sort of errors are a thing of the past. 100%. If you deal with them and nip them in the bud, then they don't become a problem anymore. But I hate this premise that I really hate this premise that when these scandals and things occur, like, yes, I understand these things take time to set up and compensation schemes and whatnot take to set up. But I just feel like they always tried to kick the can down the road for these problems. And it felt like to me that the Conservatives were kicking a lot of these problems into the grass for Labour to deal with. And it's not right. And who suffers? All these victims. All these groups. They all suffer as a result. And you know as well as I do how unfair that is. And I'm sure there's many more that have suffered as a result. Yes, I know, money doesn't grow on trees, but it should have been these should have been dealt with much sooner. A lot of them. But we are in this situation. And the Chancellor needs to find money to deal with these. And I think a lot of them should be a case of nip them in the bud. A lot of these, make sure these schemes are being set out properly, and be clear about what is acceptable and not acceptable in terms of payments to them. Because they weren't getting clarity with the Conservatives, but I would like Labour to be a bit more clarify on things, and they should not ignore them. And that would be very bad for them. But what do you guys honestly think? What do you guys make of £47 billion in compensation bills? What do you make of all these issues, all these past mistakes made by the British state? Can we pay all these back? Or are we just going to kick them down the road and it's going to be another problem for another government? What do you guys honestly think about them all so far? Let me know your thoughts and more down in the comments section below. If you found this video interesting, please hit the like button, be greatly appreciated. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video. And subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.